Cheech here with Fly Fish Food. We have Skill Builder 39. We're talking about Partridge, how to choose it and how to tie it in 2 different ways.
Dude, that's a big bro.
Okay, we're talking about Partridge here. Partridge is maybe one of the coolest feathers you can use for soft tackles. Lots of old school soft tackle flies use Partridge. The real name is a Hungarian partridge. It's a very popular upland bird. So let's talk about it a little bit. So I have 3 pelts here, and I have a bag of loose feathers. So the pelts are, I don't know, right now I think they're I don't know, between like 40 and 60 bucks depending on the grade. And if you knew what it took to get these pelts to look like this, you'd kind of understand. We've talked to a lot of the people who harvest these and produce these for the fly tyers, and it's just kind of a nasty, greasy little bird, and they're hard to tan. So keep that in mind when you're shopping for them. And then also, you see this one, this is a dyed orange. I just kind of have this out here as an example. It's really hard to dye partridge because of how greasy they are. So if you can ever find dyed partridge, get it. It's tough. I have a few flavors of it. We twisted Hairline's arm one time into dyeing us a bunch. But anyway, the reason I'm showing you full pelts in a bag is usability of the feathers. Okay. So most of the time when people come in and they buy partridge, they want to tie soft tackles with it. And they want to tie small soft tackles. Okay, so when I say small, I say anything under a 14. And I'd say the smallest range you can get in a partridge, maybe down to 18. You might be able to find a 20, but that's playing with fire because they're so brittle at that size. But in a bag like this, that's like $5, you're not going to get very many usable small feathers. This is fine if I'm tying, tails with partridge. Maybe if I'm tying larger, say stillwater soft tackles, I could use that. But one advantage of buying the bagged stuff is at this point it becomes easier to dye, so you can get it in all different kinds of colors. Okay, so if you're doing tails and legs and all that kind of stuff, this would be a good choice. But by and large, you want to look at pelts. Okay, so now that we have the pelts here, I'm going to kind of explain to you some of the parts to look at a pelt. When I'm selecting partridge, I'm looking down here, okay? This kind of band of feathers right here, right behind the neck. And as you can see, this is one that's been on my desk for a second, and I have been pulling through probably size 14 and 12 feathers on this one. But if your bird does not have good feathers through here, kind of neck and shoulders area, it might not be the best one for small soft tackles. So I think the best hackles on the bird are going to be these shoulders here. The feather barbules kind of have a little bit more integrity. The stem sits up a little bit better, so they're a little bit more durable. Down the middle, you have a really cool kind of two-tone brownish, tannish, and gray. I love these for stillwater flies like Calabatus, what else, like AP emergers, all that kind of stuff back here in this part. And then if you look underneath, we have a salt job here, but all these little tufts of feather can be used as like little micro chunks of marabou. Every single part of the bird can be used in fly tying, so keep that in mind. But if you find a bird that's all chewed up here right behind the head, it might not be the one to get. So anyway, if you want to tie a wide range of sizes and have a wide range of feathers to tie with, this is what you get. For $5-6, you can get the bag of partridge, but even if you bought 10 bags worth of that stuff, you would never have the same amount of feathers that you would have in a full pelt. So if you're tying with partridge a lot, buy a full pelt and be happy. All right, so we're going to show you one way to tie it in. I'm going to show you how to tie it in by the tip first. So there are a few little hacks with tying it in by the tip. So here I've farmed out a feather, and we have a bunch of stuff on it. This little hanger off the back is called the after shaft feather, and there are all kinds of fun stuff you can do with that. They're cool on pheasants as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off this feather. I'm going to get rid of any of this after shaft. And that gives me a little white handle to hang on to. Now, to tie this in by the tip, and you can see I don't have a very perfect feather. I've got some pieces missing right here. Over here it's not bad, but it's not a big deal. The other thing to consider is if you need to go as small as you can with Partridge, it's better to tie it in by the tip, because these feathers up here by the tip are quite a bit shorter than the feathers down here. Sometimes you can get away with just one turn and it looks great before it starts getting too big. But to create a tie-in spot, I'm going to get some tweezers and just pinch the feather by the tip like this, and then just preen those all back. And let's see, there we go. There's a little tie-in point. We'll show you that right there. Now, instead of just tying this in as is, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim a little triangle on that. So what I mean by that is I'm going to trim this. You can see how I left a little tag, a little reverse triangle thinger. That's going to be my tie-in, okay? So I'm going to catch the feather on that little mini triangle that I did. And I like to really crank down on this because, man, nothing's more frustrating than yanking this out of there. There are no guarantees that I won't break this off. There are no guarantees that I won't swear during this. But this is usually the time that it happens. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to put a whip finish in here so nothing slips out when it's not supposed to. All right. This is maybe the one time in my life that I really use hackle pliers. They make a big difference. You all know this guy. This is the CNF one, and it's got a little rubber shock absorber in it. Just like that. I have also worked well with this Stonfo. This little fella. At the end of the day, you just need something that's really grabby and won't slip and won't break your stuff. It's a lot harder than you think to make a tool that does that. All right, so let's get after it. I'm going to come in here and just clip in this hackle plier. Now, some people, and I'm going to try to explain this without yanking this out of there because it's really hard. Some people like to strip one side of the feather. So at this point, if I wanted to do that, I'd pull off this side on the side furthest away from me because I'm going to wrap down this way. And I just broke it off! If this happens to you, there's an easy way to fix it. You're just going to do the same thing. I'm going to take it out of the hackle pliers. You're just going to grab it by the tip again. I can't tell you if I plan to do that, but this is also a skill builder. All you do is grab 3 or 4 more fibers, make another little triangle, and we're doing it again. That's why I couldn't unwrap it, because I had whip finished it. I'll figure this fly tying out. All right, we're ready to wrap now. Without further ado, I'm not going to explainitize it anymore. We're just going to take it and very gently. This first turn is really where it's make it or break it time. So once I'm here, I'm pretty good, okay? So I'm just going to do, that's maybe 1 full turn, and then there's 1 more turn right there. I'm going to stop the fly right there. I love this hackle plier because I can use my finger in it to hold. So to tie this off, I'm going to bring my thread up through here, but you see how I kind of looped back behind these feathers that are sticking up to not trap anything down. So with just half a turn, I have tension. I'm going to get rid of that hackle plier right now. So I'm going to tie that off by kind of wiggling my thread through again, and then I just pull everything back. Now this is a Davy McPhail trick. Let's see if I can do it. Actually, see what happened there? When I wrapped everything back, I lost the nice shape of the partridge. So if you wrap too far back over the butts, it might change the shape of it. All right, so I'm going to pull this out of here. So you can cut this out, or because I wrap my thread back on top of the tie-off, I should just be able to break it out, just like that. All right, my feathers aren't too bad. And there you have it. That is a soft hackle tied in with the tip first. Now, I'm no expert on soft hackle proportions. The only thing I know is you tie them longer than you do dry flies, okay? There will be 4,000 people like commenting on here telling me that I did it wrong and that's not the traditional style. Well, guess what? The fish eat this one. So that's all we care about. So anyway, wrap them sparse, wrap them thick, however you want. That is how to tie it in by the tip and wrap it forward. We're going to tie in feather another way, and so I've prepared another fly and I have farmed out another feather. You can see this one's quite a bit smaller. And the reason for that is because the first feathers I'm going to use on this one are the ones at the base. Now, it looks like I didn't get all the fluffy feathers out of there. So we'll get them out. The other thing you can do with this is like if you know you're going to tie a real small fly with just a little bit of hackle, you can peel a bunch of these off so you don't over wrap it. So what I'm going to do is I'll just wrap this down by the base now, about like that. And I'm going to grab the very tip, kind of where we grabbed our pliers last time. Oh, and I just pulled that out of there. All right, I got to shut up and tie, or else I'm going to break this for the third time. So you have to be very gentle with this one, okay? So I'm persuading the fibers to lay where I think they should. And the same type of tie off, half a turn, take off my hackle plier, and then this one's going to be real hard to break out because it's small. So check out, this is another little hack. If you need to tie or cut stuff off, and if this thread falls over this eye, this whole thing is going to come apart. So what I do sometimes is I grab my whole hand and I just pull my thread over here while I trim. And you can see I'm using my middle finger here to brace where I'm putting my scissors. And I just trim that stem out of there. All right, so now we're good. Pull those back, make a little bit of a head. And as you can see, this one wants to sit out kind of more at a 90-degree angle. So depending on the fly that you want to tie, these are two different ways to tie in partridge. Now, if you ask me, typically I tie it in tip first. I just have best results that way. But as you can see, they almost look like the same technique. Anyway, there are two ways to tie in partridge and some ways to pick out good feathers. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that stuff. Brigham, are we supposed to say that at the first of the video? Like and subscribe, bro.